Hey everybody, this is Cindy Allen, Editor-in-Chief of Interior Design, and we are in the Steelcase showroom right now before NeoCon, and we're speaking with the new CEO of Steelcase, Sarah Armbruster. First of all, I'm so excited to have this moment before all the craziness to get to know you and have everyone get to know you too.
Great, well thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to spend some time chatting this afternoon.
First of all, I was so excited to hear that as a new CEO, new woman CEO, that you've been with Steelcase all these years.
Yeah.
And in all the chaos that's happening in the world, there's something very, very solid and comforting about knowing that you have been at Steelcase.
Yeah.
So how many years has it been?
So it's been 14 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I joined Steelcase back in 2007, and I joined to lead corporate strategy and have been involved with the strategy of the company ever since. So to your point, I think that'll give me both some background as well as some opportunity to maintain continuity going forward. But I've also had the pleasure of working in a bunch of different parts of the company over those years. So leading our global design research team, at one point leading a small part of our sales organization. At other points, I've led Steelcase Education. I've worked with our healthcare business, our Polyvision subsidiary, our IT organization. So
Wow.
I've been really fortunate to be able to work in different parts of the company and get to know both what we do internally, but also spend time with customers and dealers and our architecture and design partners.
It's a lot, Sarah, it's a lot. Now,
Yes.
I have big shoulders. I think they're bigger than yours, but how do you manage a job like this? Why do you think, like when you go home at night, say like, yeah, like I can be the one, I'm the one?
Yeah, well that's actually a really easy question to answer because I work with a phenomenal team of people, both at the leadership level, all of my colleagues who are leading different parts of the company, but also just across the organization. We have an incredible global team of employees who are just unbelievable professionals and expert at what they do. So, so it really makes what I do easier.
Oh, so it's a piece of cake. Okay, everybody, it's a piece of cake. No, it is different though. It is different, and you have to, that kind of the buck stops with you, so to speak. And I agree. I know many people in the organization, all top notch. So that's really great. But everything has changed so much. The world is crazy. We don't have the answers. How do you feel about like sitting in that zone of kind of not knowing?
Yeah, well, I actually think this is a really fantastic time to be at Steelcase and to be in my job and really for all of us who are part of this industry, because the whole world is talking about work, right? And every leader of every company around the world is thinking about questions like, how do I get my people back to the office? Or how do I support my organization in new ways? Or how are we going to make hybrid work? So I think Steelcase is really fortunate to be able to be in the middle of those conversations, both listening and learning, but then also being able to use that information to innovate and to provide new solutions that I think people really need right now. So I find that a really, it gives me a lot of optimism for the future.
Yeah, there's something right now about, we talk about collaboration, we talk about teaming, we talk about all those things, and right now, since we all don't have the answers, that is so much more critical, right?
Yeah.
So when you're saying that, like, trusting your team and being out in the world and figuring out what in the world everybody wants, from your clients to people who come to work every day. I mean, it is a creative and business-oriented decision that you guys seem very, very up to the task for. Now, we know that Steelcase believes in work, believes in people, and believes in place, right?
Absolutely.
So those are sort of the ingredients these days.
Those are all the ingredients, and I think there's so much conversation happening about work, and obviously much of what we read and hear has to do with hybrid work and whether to be at home or be in the office, but I think there's a really interesting undercurrent to that, which might actually be about whether work matters at all. And I think work absolutely matters. And if you look around, I mean, people work not just to put food on the table or to pay their mortgage, but people work because they find meaning. We hope, right, on a good day in the things they do. I mean, people want to be part of something bigger than themselves. They want to feel like what they do with their days matters. So I think this idea of work is just something really compelling that's very innate to the human spirit, like at its best, right? When
Yeah.
it's at its best. And I think this is a moment for design, because design can really help connect people to that purpose, whether it's how we design spaces that help people feel attached and part of something that's bigger than themselves or organization's mission, whether design can help create spaces that provide for respite and well-being, whether design can connect people in meaningful and different ways. I think there's a huge moment, again, not just for Steelcase, but for our whole industry, to reconnect people to that meaning and to help make work something really, really matter in all of our lives.
Yeah, you know, I'm like so proud of this industry because our capacity for change and our openness for change and the fact that design is always evolving. I mean, the whole world is talking about design these days, right? They're talking about work and they're talking about design. And that's all of us, right? So, you know, thank goodness we're the type of people that can move things forward. So first of all, tell me how the organization has like handled the pandemic.
Well, it's been really an amazing journey over the past 18 months, like I'm sure it is for many companies. I was asked at the start of the pandemic to lead Steelcase's COVID response. So I had a very interesting seat and role to play in thinking about how do we ensure the safety of our employees globally, how do we continue to operate the business and protect the business, how do we continue to serve customers as best as possible during the pandemic. And I think I couldn't be more proud of our people and our organization for the ways that they came together in unprecedentedly difficult circumstances to try to move the business forward and keep everybody safe. So that was really, I think, a unique moment for us. But I would say looking externally, we also had the opportunity, I think, to make the most of a difficult situation and use the pandemic as an opportunity to do research and to engage with customers and with people and with lots of different audiences outside to understand, like, how are they thinking about work, what was working for them, no pun intended, what was not working. And so we did a phenomenal amount of like asking questions and of listening and exploring. And I think a lot of what we're going to be sharing here at NeoCon is innovation that comes out of quite a bit of that research. So it was a opportunity to really dig into an important moment for the whole world and ask questions.
Yeah, we kind of say like the designer manufacturer relationship has never been so important, right? It's always been super connected, but now so important. What are the designers saying just in terms of projects that are, they're getting back to some really big projects? And I mean, we're about to publish a couple big projects where the client's like, no, I want our folks back to work. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I think we're hearing the same thing. I mean, many of our customers, the leaders of those organizations, want to get people back to the office and back to some new form of work, hybrid work, whatever that might be. But I think everyone is wrestling, with what that means, because we know hybrid forms of work for many organizations are a really seismic shift in how they operate relative to what they did before. So I think, as I think about the conversations I've had with people in the industry and in the design community, I think the common theme is how can we together help our shared customers try things and experiment. I think the strategy of waiting, let's just hope that our people come back to work and let's hope we can figure it out at some point. I understand why that may be a tempting approach, but I really don't think that that's in anyone's best interest. So I think as we work with the design community, it's about how can we bring people ideas and solutions and help them at least take the first step or two down that journey so that they can figure out what the future means for them. Yeah,
well, I hear a lot of there will be even more technology and it will be even more in the background, right? And I think you guys have always led in terms of technology, and so you're in a good position for that.
So it's a big part of the future, I think, for all the reasons we've just been talking about. And I think the way that we've been thinking about technology as a means of connecting people at work is to think about how we make sure those experiences are engaging, and equitable and easy, right? So you want them to be engaging, and even if you have to interact with someone through a screen, how can that be as human and as inspiring and as sort of natural an experience as possible? So we're experimenting with solutions that provide that type of experience. I think equitable experiences are also really important because we've all been the person who's not in the room, and it's hard to feel like you're part of the conversation. You can't always be heard, and it isn't very democratic. So we're also working on solutions that allow more equality and sort of democracy, so to speak, in terms of who's at the table, whether they're in the room or they're someplace else. And then, of course, easy goes without saying. I mean, we've all had technology experiences that are not easy. But,
really?
but none of us, I don't think, like those experiences. So the easier we can make things, the seamless connections, making it natural and intuitive is, I think, a big part of what we're going to need to make hybrid work be successful.
You know, I'm really proud of the design industry for multiple reasons. One of them is that there have been waves of really good things that have been happening before the pandemic. So we've been, even though everyone's had to pivot for sure, there are things where I'm like, see, you guys were doing that all along, or you were on that wave of that. Are there a few things that come to mind?
Well, absolutely. I think you're right. I think many of the trends that really feel front and center today are things that were happening prior to the pandemic, but maybe we didn't notice or we didn't see them as clearly. You know, one certainly is I would say is flexibility. So thinking about flexibility of workspaces and putting more choice and control in the hands of an individual to be able to move things around or use work tools or reconfigure spaces kind of in a moment, to be able to suit to their needs at that time, whether they're doing collaborative work or individual work or trying to focus or whatnot. So quite a bit of what we've been working on even prior to the pandemic was about these flexible spaces, and we're certainly excited to do more of that type of work going forward. So that's a big one. I think one other one that we've spent a lot of time thinking about is privacy, and what's the role of privacy, right? And before the pandemic, there was lots of conversation about the open office and the merits of the open office versus offices or spaces that provided for greater degrees of privacy, and everyone had an opinion about that. You know, I think as we come through the pandemic, I think that question is even more in the forefront, because even if you come to the office to collaborate or to be part of a team activity in person, you're still going to have those moments potentially in between meetings or, you know, during breaks in your workshop where you need to focus or you need to do heads down work. So thinking about different ways to provide varying degrees of privacy, you know, within the office floor plate, I think is going to be an even more important question going forward than it was before.
Yeah, you're beyond lovely, so brilliant, and this is like kind of just a little bit of a peek into the lens of how you're seeing the world, right? Yeah. Okay, so we just want a few little tidbits.
Okay.
Like what? Like
tidbits about what?
Like about you. Like, you've been at Steelcase all these years. Yeah. How would you describe yourself? How would I describe myself?
I think I'm someone who's very collaborative. I really value diversity of ideas and opinions and expertise. And I'm really fortunate to be part of a company that has so many people that have expertise in so many different fields and areas that it's sort of like this great playground to tap into that and say, how can we bring the right people together to get to that spark that might be the solution to some difficult problem or the spark of some new great idea that can add value to our customers and to our users. So I love the opportunity to pull people together in ways to do meaningful work. So I would say that for sure. I'm also really someone who's personally motivated by really challenging problems. I've always been a bit about the philosophy, if it's not hard, then it's not worth.
I get it.
It's not worth doing. So this is, you know, this moment, like we've been talking about, is an amazing moment for the world and for people in this industry to solve an incredible set of challenges that I think we can turn into amazing opportunities that can have impact at an unbelievable scale, right? So if we can help make work better, if we can help solve for great hybrid experiences, if we can help make the work experience something really meaningful for the people who use our products, and do that around the world, that's really an incredible a vision to imagine.
It sure is. I became editor-in-chief right at 9/11.
Okay.
And I look back and I remember that kind of clarity of being around a shift in the world and saying, oh, you're meant to be here, you're meant to take care of what you can do for the magazine and for the industry. So I remember that kind of clarity.
Yeah.
When you became the head, do you remember any sort of clarity?
Well, I think the clarity really is around, the whole world is asking for these questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally would never claim to have all the answers, but I have an incredible degree of confidence that me plus our team, plus the organization, and all the really amazing design partners and industry partners that we work with, I know that we can bring really needed and important things to the world. So I think the clarity of knowing we can do it and that we're on that path has been really motivating.
Well, first of all, thanks for your positivity and your insight. I believe you, and I believe the energy and the capacity for moving our industry forward. So I'm excited to see what you do.
Welcome to DesignTV. I'm Pamela Jaccarino, Editor-in-Chief of Luxe Interiors and Design. Recently, I sat down with the Wizard of Wow, designer Ken Fulk, for a great conversation about his design philosophy, how to tell a great story through interiors, and much more. Enjoy the show. Hi, Ken.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. It's so nice to be with you today. Thanks for making the time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Can you talk a little bit about, when you were a kid, how did you learn about dreaming big? Talk a little bit about those very early years for you and how that shaped you.
Though I did grow up sort of, I like to say, as kind of an alien. I came out this way. I am very much the same person I was when I was 6 years old. And I don't know the answer to the question really. It's just part of my DNA. I did always see the world in this sort of cinematic fashion. It's like, I don't know, it was almost like my own little superpower where I felt like we couldn't just have lunch. We needed to, I was okay. I had to climb on the step stool and get out the good dishes, and I had to go clip the flowers, and I was in charge of every holiday. And it wasn't that I thought I knew better or something. It was more like I wanted people to have the best experience possible. And to me, it was like giving them a gift. And it's like how we all get excited when we have a great birthday gift to give someone or a holiday gift. It's almost more exciting for us. And I felt that way about life and about all aspects of it, that I just was excited for people. I'm like, why would you do it this way when we could do it this way? And you'll have so much more fun. And I still believe that. And it's still the way that I see the world. And, if there is any sort of, it's a gift to me. And so I suppose as a gift, I like to share it and make it a gift for others.
It's baked into the Fulk DNA.
It is, and I don't know where I am truly. Certainly, I grew up in this kind of matriarchal society, and people entertain. They didn't really have decorators so much unless you were like really rich people, and even then you didn't talk about it. But I wasn't like anyone else, and they always thought I was sort of this funny little character who went and picked out my own jackets and bought my mother dresses, and it was.
Did you feel odd, Ken? Did you feel odd? growing up and
No,
going
I
to
felt very
school?
self-possessed by it. I felt like it was a very natural thing for me. I didn't feel odd. I felt like I don't know whether I got some of it from watching TV reruns. Like I literally used to say that I wanted to, they would bring me out when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old and say, tell everyone where you're going to live when you grow up. And I would say, Manhattan. I hadn't left rural Virginia. And they would say, where? In this place called Manhattan. And I said, a penthouse. And, what I had it, my mother called them illusions of grandeur. And I think I still suffer from them. But if you're going to suffer from an ailment, I think illusions of grandeur isn't a bad one to have.
Yeah, make it fantastical and brilliant and wonderful. So your design business officially began when a friend asked you to lend a hand with decorating her home, and your business, sort of took off from there through, I'm sure, a lot of hard work and passion and your vision. How going from like that first job, I mean, you're such a risk taker. It seems like, from us looking in, and this world that you're running and that you built, do you feel like you took risks early on in your career, especially early on? And if so, can you talk a little bit about that and some of the risks that you took?
I mean, I still think I probably take them every day. I was never trained as a designer, and I went to school in Virginia, and I think like every young person who didn't really know what they were going to do, thought I was supposed to go to law school just to maybe to delay the inevitable. And suddenly when I began this business, it was like a light bulb went off. And because I'd never seen it as a career, it was just sort of who I was. And it became like it was like the universe aligned. And I don't know that I fully recognized the quote unquote risk. I just was unorthodox how I probably ran my business compared to most people. I mean, I take the business part very seriously, but I sometimes equate it to somebody who maybe has a good voice or likes to sing, but doesn't want to take lessons for fear of losing the gift or something. And I was a little bit like that. I wanted to find my own path, and perhaps that was risky, but maybe I was too naive to know that it was risky. And then, I believe strongly, like, in the power of yes, which requires risk. We spend so much of our lives growing up, sort of being told no or learning what's right and wrong for us. And that's important to get boundaries. But at the same point, I almost feel like as we mature, we begin to shut down a little bit because we forget how to say yes. And for me, it is the most sort of exhilarating, intoxicating, scary thing that you can do. And that is to say yes to things that you might not even know if and how you can accomplish them. And I work with an amazing team of nearly 100 people who are like insane, talented folks. And believing that we can do anything, whether that's, we've created floral headdresses. It's gone down the haute couture runway of Dolce & Gabbana. I don't know anything about couture or frankly even headdresses, but we did it. We've thrown elaborate weddings. I had never thrown a wedding before the first one, but I was confident that we could do it. And so that's the part I think that from the outside feels risky. But to me, it is, and it's almost combined with this sort of a thing inside me that is almost like a refusal to fail. And it's not like we don't have failures. I screw up every single day. I make mistakes constantly, and I'm, a very imperfect person. But it's that willingness to sort of take the crooked path to get you somewhere that on the outside looks like, overnight success. And instead, it's just the willingness to go on the journey that ultimately will get you across that finish line. So I think that's kind of how it all just came to be, and it's still dictates everything we do today.
I had a question, which is kind of interesting, where it's like, what's the Ken Fulk playbook for when you hear the word no?
I think it depends on the circumstance. Sometimes, like if we're told no, that we're not getting a job, unless I really feel like, someone's making a mistake and I know that we're right, I will move on. I won't, because I feel like there are other doors that are opening. But I don't like to hear no within my own organization, unless, I really have to be convinced if someone's telling me, not that I don't want to hear an argument or understand. I don't think I have the best ideas in the room necessarily, but if I'm told no simply because things seem like they're too hard, or they've gotten no's themselves, what can be something as simple as, we're delivering a project to a client, and it's supposed to be delivered on August 24th. And I'm told that the upholsterer can't deliver the sofa, that the drapery workroom is backed up and the fabric's in Italy and it's not going to get here in time. I don't hear no. We will figure it out. I'm like, I don't care if we have to take burlap and line it with silk. We're going to hang drapes on those damn windows. Like, I will not take no. It will not be us dropping that ball. And so, it's again part of that crooked path where I won't, we just had this very instance happen where I'm like, well, then pick the sofa up, it will go somewhere else and we'll pay them. That sofa is going to be in the client's house. I'm not going to be the one that tells them no. And so I do have that sort of take no prisoners, do anything you need to
find
do.
A solution. Find a
solution. And it may not be that exact thing that, but it's a solution. And so that's what I think success sort of looks like to some people, but it's just more about being a solution-based company.
You've summed up your design philosophy, Ken, in a sentence. I love this. Fear is the enemy of good design. Tell us how are you fearless, and how did you learn to become fearless? You're going to say that you were born fearless. I feel like it takes guts. Where does that courage come from? And how do you muster it, or particularly early? I feel like it's probably something that everyone always needs. You can't just go, okay, I've got the courage, but talk about being fearless.
It is the little Latin phrase on our first book, that fear is the enemy of good design. And I don't know that I'm truly fearless. I mean, I often I find it to be a motivator. Like when I'm worried about something, having a bit of fear is a good thing, because I find it to be a motivating thing. It makes me realize the pitfalls and to be present. And so I have a good dose of it all the time. But what I don't let it do is, sort of diminish what we do, because I'm afraid if someone's not going to like it, or someone's going to say something unkind, or because I think so often we get beige from fear, and who wants to live in that world? Like I say, if everybody likes something, it's not interesting, and it's probably not that good. And so, and it's not like I think everything we do is fantastic, but I won't be afraid to do it and afraid to make a mistake, because I know that we're smart enough to adapt. And so, certainly there's an amount of self-confidence. There's also an amount of feeling willing to just kind of go for it. And I don't know that it's fearlessness. It's just
you don't want to play it safe, because
I don't
boring.
like to play it safe. It just isn't why we're here on the planet. There's a Steve Jobs quote that says, if you're not going to make a dent in the universe, why are you here? And I feel obligated to do that. I do think, and this sounds almost cocky, and I mean it almost in the opposite way, but I think there's something like exceptional about my life and about the things we're here to do. And so I feel obligated. I feel like I've been given an opportunity, and why would I squander it? Like, then I feel like I would have been a really bad steward to my life, to my business. And so I feel a sense of obligation to whatever greater power, whatever has given me good fortune, I give myself pep talks. I talk to myself all the time, like where I say, be present, don't screw it up.
It's so interesting when you said that, like it's your obligation, because it reminds me of what you said about, a gift that you want to give. And it's for me, I just making a connection there to, this is your gift, and you're putting it out there for all of us. So anyway, thank you. Okay, I've got so many more questions. I've got a whole list. I got a whole list. I have to talk to you about this. So you're a self-taught designer. You've gone with your gut. You've gone with the, the visions that you've had, and you view life through this incredible cinematic lens. And that there are these visual ideas that are in your head. You refer to them as your movies. Talk a little bit about your approach to design, Ken, and like the storytelling that underscores, I think, everything that you do. Explain what you mean to this team when you talk about storytelling and your movies.
So for some reason, I've always called our projects movies. We have a new book that's coming out next year called The Movie in My Mind, with my head sort of exploding with all of these ideas coming out of it. And I sort of had a realization as to maybe why. Part of it is because I don't possess any abilities I can't express myself through drawing. I don't use, I'm not an expert at CAD or computer. I was never trained in any of that. By the way, we now have a team where every single person is a highly trained expert in all of this, but I had none of those abilities. And the only way that I could express myself was through words. And early clients, there were no presentations. I literally walked them through spaces and I told them what would happen. And it made me a really good storyteller. Long before people ever talked about experiences and the experiential economy, I just sort of understood that. I knew what we were providing, because our clients, most of them are, benevolent billionaires who have and that's just sort of a weird fact. And, they're really nice people, but they have a lot. And what they're interested in isn't about accumulation. Like luxury and having wealth has sort of been redefined, at least for my clients, and it becomes about imprinting memories. And we do that by facilitating those things to happen and setting the stage for it. And so we begin every project with words on paper. We literally start telling the story, and then we bring it to life. And we bring it elaborately to life through visuals and drawings and concepts. And even almost every house project we work on, we do branding and graphics, because we want to bring it to life, and not just in a, sort of a pretty room, but beyond that, what's going to happen in the room. So I do think it's what makes us a bit different than most creative firms out there, and how we do things.
What do you think are the most important, qualities or the mindset for anybody to succeed, whatever they're doing, right? I mean, if you want to stand out and be the best and every field has, every field is crowded. But what are if you had to say like this is the ingredients. There's three things that like if you don't have this, it's just going to be really, you're always going to be sort of the back of the pack. What would you say those are?
The number one, I don't know about three, but certainly the number one for me is relationships. I think every job, no matter what, whether you're a salesperson, whether you work in accounting, whatever your role may be, it's ultimately about building relationships with people, I think, to be successful, because there are a million super talented designers out there who have incredible ideas and amazing vision. But I would be hard pressed to think that anyone could care more deeply about the relationships with the clients, with my team, than I do. And I take it super seriously, and I just genuinely care. Like, it's not, I think it's actually Frank Lloyd Wright of all things, but there's a quote that, not all my friends are clients, but all my clients are friends, because you have to care about people, and it has to be genuine. You can't be, if you're insincere or inauthentic, it shows. And so I think, to me, that is the number one key to becoming successful in any field, is being good and truly caring about relationships and people. And, I think so often you think, oh, you have to be ruthless, or you have to be, sort of, and I think it's the opposite. I think you have to be good and kind and care and genuinely do that. And then the rest sort of happens if you actually have the goods to do it, if you are talented in whatever field that may be.
What are the ingredients of a good story in your mind?
For me, it's usually, and I guess there could be a day that I wake up and they don't pop into my head, but for me, I'm like a sponge with it and just absorb them. There definitely needs to be, it's like a basic character plot where you want to have sort of, an opening, the sort of crescendo, and a finale. I love a good finale. And, we do think about it in that way, where in the book we're doing, that we see them as, there's like action thrillers and romantic comedies. And so I think thinking about, you want to grab people's attention to begin with, to get them excited and engaged. And then, you need some intrigue. And then you need the big ta-da.
The showgirls that come in dancing on a cake.
You definitely need, who doesn't want showgirls coming in? And so for me, that's key to good storytelling. As far as inspirations, I pull them weirdly from early childhood memories to a movie I saw last week, to, a floor I walked on in India and thought it was cool. And, I'm not the world's, like, some people are such great students, and, they have so much information in them. And I feel like more like life's a smorgasbord, and I sort of pull little pieces from it. And it's like, if you know how to cook, I don't need the cookbook. I'm just going to go in the kitchen. I'm going to grab some things out of the pantry and the fridge, and I sort of put it together, and I keep tasting it until we get it right.
So we have a lot of folks listening in who are in sales and marketing and catering to clients. I think you talk about the relationship being the most important thing, but how do they, I was going to ask you, because I feel like you're great at the relationship, but also like the Ken Fulk razzle dazzle, like nobody does it better. How do they close deals? What can they do beyond the relationship? They're closing a deal. Give them a few one Ken Fulk good, kind of ingredient to help close a deal, beyond the fact that they have to have a great relationship with their clients.
Sure. I always try, we like to say, to delight and surprise. And so it's fun to sort of take people's breath away. We try to think of those things that are creative, unexpected, whether it's, sending the perfect or funny, ridiculous gift. I have a very long-term client now who I was at the opening of the opera, and I was wearing some crazy Lanvin big bow tie, and he commented on it. And this guy is never going to wear a bow tie, but I sent him one beautifully wrapped, and I said, everybody needs a big one. And he was like, sort of, I'm sure taken back but funny. And we built a relationship on just like, something slightly ridiculous. I also think, being willing to do things that don't always seem like it's transactional. Because I think, especially in sales and marketing, because it is a transactional by nature, that when you do things where there may not be something in it for you whatsoever, but you're just doing it because it's about building that relationship. So we often do that. We keep track of almost, all of our friends and colleagues' birthdays. I make sure I do something for them, and they're sort of like, how do you remember my birthday? And this is someone that they just stay on our list, and to do something nice for them, to make them feel recognized. And then sometimes we literally do send in a troupe of dancers. No joke. And I think thinking of those things and not always looking at the end result of getting the deal signed, but looking at the long game.
Ken Fulk, what is your favorite word?
Yes.
What is your least favorite word?
Maybe.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Dogs.
I knew you were going to say your dogs. Everybody, if you're not following Ken on Instagram, you must see his dog.
No one follows the design. They just follow my dogs.
That's
why they don't have their own channel.
When they're in P-Town and they jump in the water, I just am like, I've got little Shih Tzus. They don't love the ocean, but yeah. So anyway, what turns you off, Ken?
Mean people.
What is your favorite curse word?
Well, I have a last name, Fulk, and so it is so close to. Excuse my language. My mother may be watching. She's not. But we have a lot of fun with it, so it's hard not to be my favorite curse word.
What sound or noise do you love, Ken?
It goes back to my dogs. If you watch any of these videos, they sound like little snorting pigs when they come out of the water. And I love that sound.
Oh.
It brings me joy. We do that like twice a day, by the way. If you see those videos, it seems like I post them a lot, but it's a big part of our lives. And any time of the year, whether it's in a pool or in the, it brings me great joy.
I get it. I am the mother of 2 dogs and 2 human boys, but the dogs, we're all about the dogs. Yeah, seriously. I tell my kids, you kids are nice, but it's all about the dogs. What sound or noise do you dislike?
Nails on the chalkboard.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Movie making.
I feel like there's going to be a movie. There's going to be like a Ken Fulk. I also want to say one thing about this. I think you must go down the Quentin Tarantino route if you're going to do a movie. So Quentin Tarantino does not believe in a small screen Netflix, even though they are, that's the new way. I think we're going to do a Ken Fulk movie, or you're going to do a Ken Fulk movie. It's got to be on the cinematic big screen.
Giant.
Big screen. You cannot watch it on your phone.
No.
You cannot watch it on your TV at home unless you have a big one. That's all I'm going to say, a big TV. Okay. What profession would you not like to do, Ken?
I would not like to sit in an office all day.
One last question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Welcome home.
Because you love the cinema and just the visual, are there any like do you have like your favorite movie directors, past or present, or like, if you had to live on an island and you just take a few great films with you, you're gonna have a big screen, right? We're gonna go Tarantino. What are you gonna watch?
I remember films so vividly from my childhood that had a big impact on me. I sort of grew up around, these blockbuster movies of the E.T. and I must have paid to see Grease how many times, the idea of I knew every song by heart. But I do remember being really little, and this is a funny film because it kind of didn't get great reviews when it came out. And it was Gene Kelly directed Hello, Dolly. And it starred Barbara Streisand. And I think, it literally came out when I was was I born? I don't know. But I remember being mesmerized by it. And even to this day, that sort of Harmonia Gardens restaurant scene of her coming down the stairs and the feathered headdress and Louis Armstrong and the dancing waiters. And if I had to encapsulate something that sort of was my idea of what, dinner out in New York was supposed to look like, that was it. And so we just screened it. I did in Provincetown, we opened an outpost of the St. Joseph's Arts Foundation in an old sea captain's house called the Provincetown Art Society that really is meant to be in service to the town and to the organizations there. And the amazing artisan who helped with the house built a huge movie screen. And so in the back courtyard, we show movies under the stars to help raise money for the Film Society that sort of had a hard time through the pandemic, like so many places. And we just showed Hello, Dolly, which made me very happy.
That's wonderful. There's another great movie. It's called That's Entertainment. And it's those just, was it, I don't know, I should read up Bugsby, Berkeley, or what, just those. It
is. It's sort of that Ziegfeld-esque.
Oh yeah, they just went for it. So maybe I'm going to watch that this weekend. You've inspired me. But Ken, thank you so much for doing what you do and inspiring all of us, and for the gift of your time that you've given to all of us today. Truly, we really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, thank you all for having me. I am a fortunate man, and I'm glad that you were interested in hearing from me. So thank you.
Cindy, how are you? You're my first stop always. Tell me, what am I going to look forward to seeing in the showroom today?
Cindy, we have 5 great stops.
5 stops?
So I can't wait to show you and everyone in our audience today what's going on here at Hayworth. So shall we start?
Let's start.
And Cindy, here we are at our first stop, Pergola.
Oh my goodness. Now, who is this lovely gentleman? He's got to be an architect.
This is the wonderful guy, Andrew Peterson.
I work with Hayworth's Architectural Interiors Business Group, and I'm super excited to talk to you about Pergola.
First of all, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
And I'm happy to see it in person.
Pergola is our scalable sub-architectural product. This is one of the rounds. This is a 12-foot diameter. We think it's perfect for collaboration. It starts at 4 feet, and then you can go 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 12 is kind of our limiting factor, both from an aluminum and then just to getting it into the building.
Yeah. So let's talk about the materiality.
We can mix in glass. We can mix in recycled PET. We can mix in some of the same integrated palette finishes that come with our other product lines. Endless possibilities. This is space within space, and pergola is an exterior word, right? But we're bringing the outside in when we put pergola.
I love that. Open.
Here we are, Cindy.
Okay, so we saw collaborative, the collaborative pergola. So now tell us about this more singular.
Yeah, so the scale changed again.
Yeah.
So what was maybe a 12-foot dimension is now more like a 6-foot dimension.
Right.
So we're half the size, and we're using the drapery. So this is actually a quadrat fabric.
Gorgeous. The
Not
soft
necessarily
door.
speech privacy, but essentially just change that environment.
Okay, Kurt, we're at stop number 2.
Great, and here we're gonna meet the lovely Kim Lake, and she's gonna tell us about Compose Echo.
Yeah, so Compose Echo is a series of work system components that are really meant to move the way that a human moves while still balancing the need of facilities managers and keeping everything looking beautiful at the end of the day. So we talk about it in terms of micro and macro movement. So I come into my station, there's a glare on my screen, I'm easily able to adjust my table for that. Or let's say that I want to collaborate with Kurt.
Let's go behind.
And now Kurt and I want to collaborate together, so we're going to turn our tables
Ooh.
next to one another. Ooh. And now I can share what's on my screen with Kurt.
Nice.
We can
Check this out.
collaborate.
Ooh, am I allowed to see that, Kim? Oh, I don't know.
And so we can go back to doing our own thing now. So really meant to move at the pace that work changes and still maintain a beautiful space through some of the facility management control components that we have.
It's beautiful that it's closed but open.
Everything is really meant to be designed around the movement and around an active type
Yeah.
of worker. So storing a bag, having really soft corners, a footrest, an ergonomic hand grip underneath the table. So a very legible design.
Nice.
And Cindy, now we're at stop 3.
Stop 3, it's Veda. So who designed Veda?
Daniele Galinucci. There was a need for just kind of a thin profile chair. If you look in the back, very slim profile.
Nice.
Not a lot of controls. Really perfect for a conference chair. It's an all-mesh chair, very comfortable, or could also be used in a work setting where maybe you're not 8 hours at a desk. And,
It's gorgeous. It's so thin. I love the profile.
Right, and you can see in the light colors and the high back, it just gives you a really nice clean look.
Okay, stop 4, we're in the materials library.
Yes,
Who's here?
with the lovely Liz Johnson.
Hi,
Cindy.
Liz. This is like being a kid in the candy store, let me tell you.
Here is a newest one from Quadrat that was launched during the pandemic that Patricia did. And it's made from recycled pop bottles or recycled polyester. And it has a really beautiful quality of
wow.
almost a feeling of a worsted wool.
Yeah.
This one is one that we did here in the design studio at Hayworth. It's called Kaleidoscope.
This is fantastic.
It's getting multicolor into a low price point.
Wow.
So
This I'm crazy for.
this one is Patricia's.
Yeah.
And years ago, when standing in the showroom, we were standing on her rug from Gone.
It is a Gone rug, yes.
And she said, I want that up on the wall.
Wow.
So here it is. It's called Squares.
Called
and
Squares.
it's made from recycled polyester. And a
Ooh.
polyurethane in a very low price point.
Oh
We're
my
calling
God.
Pemberton. It feels yummy. It's
Feels amazing.
feels amazing. If you had feel-o-vision,
Yeah,
you could really
feel-o-vision.
tell. And it has a very low sheen and a very sophisticated kind
Oh
of
my
look,
God,
I
this
think.
matty chalkiness.
really
and
nice.
Clean,
Oh my God,
cleanable.
this
Super
is
clean, yes.
incredible, incredible. Wow.
Then we end up here with Oceanic. This is coming from sea waste.
Isn't it amazing?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah, we
nice.
call it oceanic because it is really saving our
Coming
oceans.
From the ocean scene.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Liz. And Cindy, here we are at stop 5, and we're going to talk to a new Hayworth collection partner.
I can't believe this. First of all, I'm so excited. Everyone knows and loves Greg. Everyone knows and loves Emiko. So this relationship to me is like a perfect partnership. What am I looking at here?
You're looking at the 1-inch reclaimed chair by Jasper Morrison.
Love this. Love this. Love Jasper.
It's recycled polypropylene. The collection also comes with an aluminum frame. We continue to iterate and iterate. The 1006 chair, we did aluminum. We did it in recycled PET in a partnership we did with Coca-Cola.
I remember this. This was such a big deal.
Yeah.
And now we also have it in wood.
Wood.
And the original admiral who picked the chair for the design of the aluminum chair, he based it on a wood chair. So our 75th anniversary, we came back to.
Come full circle. I love
Perfect.
that. Okay, Kurt, for a quick recap, there was material innovation,
Sub-architecture,
new partners,
New materials and fabrics,
New spaces,
new systems.
all at Hayworth.
Well, Cindy,
Well, Kurt,
that's a wrap.
I'm here at Wolf Gordon with President and CEO Rick Wolf.
Great to see you, Carol. Welcome to what I call NeoCon 2020, because for the Olympics they made it 2020, so we can
That's
do
right.
that too. It is 2021 in case anybody's watching and doesn't realize what year it is.
So what's going on? What's
Well,
happening?
we've spent the last year and a half creating and introducing a lot of new product. A long time coming, and we're really excited to show you the new
Well,
products
you
we
should
have.
be. I'm excited to see them.
Great. So with that, I'll
All
turn
right.
you over to our Chief Creative Officer, Mary Beth Shaw.
Okay. Hi, I'm here at Wolf Gordon with Mary Beth Shaw, Chief Creative Officer. You guys have been so busy. Tell us all about it.
It's a pleasure. We have been really busy over the past year and a half. We're excited to be back. We have done a tremendous amount of work on products that are PVC free. This has been a long time coming for wall covering and wall protection. I'd like to first tell you about Claire.
Yeah.
We introduced it about 8 months ago during the pandemic. We already have 14 patterns in this beautiful PVC-free Type 2 wall covering that is also bleach cleanable. It's an olefin composite. It's really a step in the right direction.
Yes, it is. Yeah, you guys are always ahead of it, finding new things, new technologies.
We
new-
work with our mills,
Yeah.
you know, all the time to try to push it forward.
Yeah.
We also have a very popular product called Rampart, which is a flexible wall protection. This is a 27-yard roll good, which can be completely rolled out under a chair rail for that length. It's also a product that meets all of the stringent testing results of rigid sheet goods. What we're also excited about with Rampart is we have a product called Stronghold. Whether you have like a concrete block wall or a tile wall, you can put Stronghold, a jute and plaster of Paris type of product, completely sustainable, over the rough wall surface, and then add Rampart. And you have a magnificent smooth wall without all the furring out, all the extra cost that is incurred when you're trying to take a rough surface and make it smooth. So the combination of Rampart Resolve and Stronghold is super sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Also, you're making it easy for the designers, the contractors, the builders, everybody, right? So
Absolutely.
Giving them solutions. So that's smart.
And cost effective.
Yeah, that's right.
Next, you know, we've been in the upholstery business for many years now, and we have partnered with GeoSheared, a mill up in Canada, and Coates Group, an international yarn supplier. And we've created, I think, a remarkable upholstery textile called Serona. This product is an inherent antimicrobial fabric. This is completely embedded in the yarn, copper and silver salts, and it comes in this exquisite color line. We see this product fantastic for all vertical markets, certainly healthcare, university, corporate, but also hospitality. You know, it's a wonderful alternative to a coated upholstery, you know, and bleach cleanable, high performing, yeah, everything. A very, very exciting collaboration this year with V-Star. This is the South Florida firm that's headed by Venus Williams. We worked closely with Venus and Sonia Haffey and their team over the past year to develop Muse. This collection is very much inspired by strong women. We have Elena, which is a beautiful, matelassé quilted textile. Comes in 4 colorways. This is the big feature. You know, the whole line is filled with movement and joy. You can see very much the spirit of Venus and V-Star in these products. We have Aura, and we've also got Frida. With that, I would like to hand it over to Sonia Haffey to go into more detail on these 3 beautiful patterns.
All right, let's go. I'm here with Sonia Haffey. She's principal at V-Star, and we're going to talk about an amazing new collection. We want to hear all about it, Sonia.
Well,
Happy to be
thank
here.
you. V-Star is a woman-owned and run firm, and so the collection was inspired around women. And so we have the 3 different patterns, which are Elena, Aura, and Frida. And within these patterns, they were named around women that inspire us. The Elena is the star of the show, of course, and it
Beautiful.
was based around dancing women and joy. This one comes in 4 different colorways.
I love
and
the
this
texture
is
of it,
one
too.
of my favorites. This colorway is named Blush, and all of the color names are based upon women in your tribe, right? So every color name has we, us, or her accented in it.
I love that. That is just so great.
This one in particular, Aura, is named after Venus's mother, who's a major inspiration, and her grandmother. So it's a little bit of a nickname.
That's so nice.
It's based upon like the DNA of a woman, and also nature, because that's another part of going back to your roots as being a woman, and the femininity with the curves and the pattern. And the last one I'll tell you about is Frida. This one is based on like the animal instincts of a woman and power behind that, and how just being you and in your DNA and bringing joy is kind of an all-encompassing woman.
Wow, it's great because they tell a story.
They do.
But I love them because they're very feminine and beautiful, but they're also modern and functional, and they're just gorgeous.
Absolutely, and we already are just so excited to be able to use it in a lot of our projects.
Thank you for joining us on this tour at Wolf Gordon. Come and see all the great products. They have some amazing things and a lot of firsts, so you want to come and see it. Thank you.
So hi, everybody. Welcome back to Teaching Green. I'm Barbara Weinreich, one of the co-chairs of the symposium and the interim director of graduate programs at the New York School of Interior Design. So as we're moving toward the conclusion of our symposium, we come to a very important constituency in the question of how do we effectively teach about sustainability in interior design education, the students. We wanted to hear from them about their experiences in this area, and also their hopes and aspirations and suggestions. We're so pleased to welcome these interior design students from the New York area, as well as from across the country, to ask them, what do you think? And we're very lucky to have as moderator, Professor Tanisha West Albert, who is Assistant Professor of Interior Design at Auburn University. Tanisha West Albert, MFA, IDEC, EDAC, NCIDQ, ASID, USGBC, is an enthusiastic, award-winning educator and design practitioner. Her research and creative scholarship explores cultural identity, meaning and trauma, diversity and inclusion, and methods to increase intercultural competency in design education and practice. Her design career is focused on design for healthcare environments, corporate interiors, and higher education. She also focuses on issues of inclusion, diversity, and equity within design education and the design profession. And with that, I hand it over to Tanisha. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for New York School of Interior Design for asking me to host this panel. So why are we here? There is a great Native American proverb that says, we don't inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. And while I'm not old enough to be anyone's mother on this panel, I do think it is very important that we understand from the next generation of interior designers what they see in our profession, what they hope for our profession, and how we can make the world more sustainable and better for everyone. So I'm just going to jump in with the first few questions. So, what was your most successful sustainability experience during your education?
I can take this one away. It was really awesome to have in our studio classes and our parameters for whatever the case was, if it was residential, commercial, whatever the case, to have in the programmatics, like it needs to be ADA, it needs to have sustainable requirements. And even that with the bare minimum of our classes starting off freshman year, having that sustainability idea drilled in our brains kind of as we became upperclassmen has been very beneficial. Like that is the bare minimum, is to be already thinking we should be practicing sustainable design.
I could also share my experience. So Pratt has been very encouraging to allow us to kind of develop our own studies. And in doing so, they supported me in using my summer to do some field research in Mexico related to tourism specifically, in which I was able to live there for 6 weeks studying sustainability directly. And what I found was quite interesting. I found kind of the exact opposite, hence my thesis proposal, and really studying the impact of tourism. And then Pratt allowed me to bring back that research to the school and share it to them with a talk and a lecture. So that was kind of really amazing for the program to support my own personal research and then have it related back to the program and be able to share my findings with the faculty and the student body.
I would like to add a very particular experience that comes to mind. I'm very grateful that Parsons really includes like sustainability education in every aspect of all our assignments from like beginning to end. But this one day that we had this like guest type professor come in, and she had like all these materials laid out on a table and asked like groups of people to come and approach them and take materials. And then we had to like look at the info tags on them and see like what their material, like what their composition was and what was needed to make them. And then it was like this exercise where we had to see where those materials were sourced from, what was used to make that, how far did it have to travel, like just everything, and all the amount of people who were part of how that material got to me on that day, just to see like the larger impact. And I thought that was a day that I called all my friends and family to tell them about it.
I think the U really touches on sustainability in every project that we do. Last year, we actually touched on a project that overall encompassed sustainable housing, but from a culturally sensitive aspect. And so diversity and inclusion was really touched on, and it was centered around the client being a Somali demographic, and in Minnesota, the Somali group is very prevalent here, and just hearing their stories really just fuels my passion for design and why I want to design for people who are most in need.
Yep, and I guess I'll go ahead and comment as well. Just to reiterate what Sarah and Marley were saying, it's a little bit different at NYSID, but with our courses, we do think about like what other sustainable aspects you can bring to your project. For our thesis, for example, you have to at least have 3 sustainable goals that you can put into action. So it's not just about creating something that is aesthetically sustainable. It's like, okay, we want sustainability to be a part of every single project that we have moving forward, not just in school, but also in the world as well. So I think that's something that we've been doing recently, and I really love that for us.
It's really encouraging to hear that every school that is represented here is embedding sustainability into the projects. And that's really exciting. And Dylan, I almost want to steal the idea of a sustainability study abroad tour like that for Auburn. We might have to talk later. That seems like such a neat thing. So we might have to talk. But going off of that, what course or course of study was most meaningful to you and why?
I could start with this one. So at FIT, we take a design technology course, and that's a course that we kind of do AutoCAD and Revit, but we are also introduced to sustainable materials, and we learn a lot about the LEED and well building standards, and kind of how those are really important aspects to look at in a project and within buildings. And then as a part of my minor, I took a psychology for sustainability course, and that one really helped one understand kind of how the brain's response to sustainability efforts kind of differ between people and how the built environment can kind of affect one's mood and behavior. So it was really beneficial for me in a way. I really enjoyed the class and kind of getting into the head of other people and how kind of environments will affect their outlook on things. So
I know that at Parsons, I felt that the most impactful class I took was Ecological Design. And I feel like up until that point, like, you know, we had learned a lot about like materials and like how certain ones are sourced unethically, or maybe there's like off-gassing and they can like affect you just in being in their home. But this class had a lot to do also with the idea of like changing behaviors in people who are in a space, and how in changing behaviors, we could also like help the environment like in that way, just like very subtly. So like perhaps like if you have like coat racks, like it encourages people to want to bring their coats, and like very small things, or even just like designing a layout in a way where, you know, if you have like a compost area, like very like visibly centered somewhere, but just like small things. And I really liked, I think in a psychological perspective, like that idea.
At NYSID, we take an introduction to sustainability, which is like laying the groundwork for all things green design and sustainable. But then also I've taken building systems, which teaches more about energy efficiency and how to work with the building envelope, as far as, you know, daylighting and things like that. But surprisingly enough, one of the classes that really opened my eyes to what we can be as interior designers in sustainability is textiles for interior design. We learned about just that in textiles, there's so much waste that we have coming from, you know, our manufacturers, our vendors, and coming to us, and then also to the landfills. And we can do a lot better when it comes to that, and just the over consumerism we can have in our industry. And looking at that, I think, is very important to being stronger.
I love that, Rashay, because when you look at the news, there's so much textile waste being just dumped in developing nations. And when you talk about equity and you talk about our impact on people, you just cannot deny textile and textile waste and everything that we're doing to poison the environment for textiles. So I love that. So on that note, what would you all like to see offered in terms of sustainability content in your school? I'm like taking notes, textiles, study abroad, sustainability trips. But what do you guys, what are you looking to see?
I could jump in on this question. Something that was very meaningful and impactful from my experience developing an interest in sustainability was extracurricular activities through our school. So we designed through the IIDA student chapter at Pratt, we organized a sustainable panel, and we brought in some professionals from Gensler and Knoll to kind of speak to the students about what it means to be a professional with a focus on sustainability.
The field trips really brought us together, but also we were able to see the local sustainable practices and see it firsthand. And that's also why I did hospitality before I went into interior design, because I thought there's no way for me to be able to design for hospitality spaces unless I understand how the space is used.
For me, I would like to see more in the schools, I think, with creation and us as creators as well. When you think about a lot of like the great interior designers or great decorators or anything, architects, a lot of them also are like, you know, furniture makers, or they're like artists as well. And I think if we can learn how to create sustainable things that we can use in, you know, our world, then maybe that could be helpful as well, us as designers, but also us as creators.
Going off of that, I think diving even deeper, especially here at the University of Minnesota, we always talk about sustainability at a very broad scale. We always talk about, you know, what it is, everything wrong about it, what change we want to see in the future, but we hardly ever talk about like the nitty-gritty details of everything that we could be all doing in our daily lives.
Vanessa, I wonder if like having a class at colleges related to that would be really helpful for anybody in any major, you know, just to like, what could we all be doing to be more sustainable on our own, you know, minuscule level.
I'm with you, Sarah. And I think, Vanessa, you mentioned something earlier about the connection of sustainability and culture, speaking about the Somali population. That's something that I hope to see in everyone's school, the connection of what human sustainability means. I think you touched on that earlier, but I think that would be something definitely integral to future education of sustainability. Now that we understand the materials and the planet, let's talk about human sustainability. So just to segue only slightly, because you guys touched on this as well, what does sustainability in our profession mean to you all? I know this is a tough question, so I'm going to give you a minute to think about that.
I can start actually. Oh,
got it, Serena.
Yeah, because it's something that my friends and I like ask ourselves a lot often, especially as we're getting prepared to graduate. And I think we all kind of touched on it in our various answers to these different questions, but it's kind of like this all-inclusive experience where it's not just materials, it's not just the environment, but it's like the people, their working conditions, and like how, like, it's, I don't know, it's kind of just making sure that the entire creating process is as healthy as it can possibly be from like start to finish in all aspects.
Yeah, and adding to that, I think one of our main goals in the profession is to create these healthy, comfortable environments for people. And so by making sure that the environment surrounding that is also healthy and safe for people to live in, I think it's kind of almost our responsibility to make sure that that is being taken care of. So I think just all inclusive with inside and outside, it's very important to make sure that it is healthy.
I think what's interesting about our profession is that sustainability is a topic that we discuss and that we learn about, but that's not quite the case across the board in other professions. So I think it's kind of very valuable for us to kind of have this knowledge, because it's important for us to educate others, not just education in the sense of academia, but educate our friends, our neighbors, our family, and really start to share our own experience with studying sustainability with some of the people that might not have had the opportunity or the encouragement to kind of look into the topic of sustainability. So ultimately, I think sustainability is education, and that it extends beyond the academia and the educational institutions that we consider.
Tell me, because I'm all into this moment right here, what is something about or related to sustainability that you all think our profession is missing or not paying enough attention to?
We'll just start with mine. I am very passionate about material health. One thing I noticed in a recent project of mine is that I was speccing a flooring, and it was from a major company. I won't say what it was. And I was looking at the information about it, and it said may contain formaldehyde. And I was dumbfounded. How could you even, it's 2021. How could you even consider putting this in a product at this point? You know, this is, you know, day one for me, you know. And then this is just something on a personal level, but I've made some changes in like products and materials that I use, and I've seen an improvement in my health. And so seeing that on a personal level, I want to see that, you know, create a bigger change throughout the profession.
I think I have a huge interest in how, like, looking at the waste that we produce, not only in just like the interior design, but like the construction waste from buildings, and reusing any of the materials we can use. I think that we have so much already on Earth, and we keep creating so much more, and it's like, you know, there's only so much the Earth can hold. So using natural materials, trying to cut down on waste, and then reusing the things that we can use, I think it's very important, and I would love to learn more about how we can do that and incorporate that into our designs.
Also, I find that a lot of people think that that's just like such a special aspect when you walk into a design and you're like, oh, this like reused wood from a ship that sunk like 100 years ago, something like funky like that. Also, it's sustainable and people are like, wow, there's a story behind it, not just that, oh, it was made in a factory that has inappropriate composition. So I think that also like people are interested to know what we can do and how we can do it, and it's also sustainable.
Exactly. And I want to say one more thing too. I think also creating things that are built to last is very important as well. So like in the past, like we have, seen things just break down over time, but like if we really are, cognizant about what we're doing, how we're doing it, and keeping the integrity of, the building and our design, we can create things that are here for a while and not breaking down and creating more waste and putting more things in the landfill, which we don't need.
Something I was also thinking about, like in all of this, was this idea that like, and also with like IKEA, actually, like sometimes on their webpage, they'll have certain things marked as like, oh, like made with healthier woods. And certain brands, like their leading thing is that they are sustainable. And it's kind of this thing that like people are drawn towards because it's like this like special, like cool thing. And I just sometimes wish it was more of a standard and not the exception of, oh, wow, like they did that. Like that should just be everything. But yeah.
I want to backpack on that. I also was thinking about how, Dylan mentioned trends, and I think about like clothing, and this, includes furniture too, and how everyone wants to jump on these trends and keep up with the trends, but, how can we design in a way so that, it's seen as current and up to date, but something that's gonna aesthetically and durability wise last for years to come, without someone thinking like, oh, I'll just buy something else and we'll replace it in a few years. So I like that you guys brought that up.
Yeah, and that I think that brings up the great and ultimate challenge of selecting designs that are timeless and that are still going to be relevant, and that's kind of up to us as design professionals, and really ultimately a challenge that we're going to be grappling with our entire career is really to select things that are not going to go out of trend as fast as we hope they don't.
And let me actually add to that, because our next question was if you could ask professors and professionals to do something to support sustainability and your sustainability interests, what would it be? And I think those two really align. So I'll add that too.
I can start. So something I've noticed when working on projects and kind of struggling with is kind of seeing a lot of greenwashing within the industry and furniture design, even within material selection, and kind of not fully seeing kind of, a piece of furniture may be sustainable, but where is it coming from, and kind of what's that carbon footprint going to be, and how is it produced? And so kind of understanding that a bit more, because you can select a piece of furniture, but then fully understanding the full impact of it, and maybe that isn't the most sustainable choice for you. So I think maybe some more studies on that, and kind of just how one should source furniture better, or materials, and what are some great places to look at, or some examples of that, what I think would be beneficial when moving forward with projects. But I think in terms of professors and industry professionals helping with supporting our sustainability, that was the question, supporting the sustainability interest, I think their continued push to make sure that all of our projects do have that sustainability and green aspect to it, and making sure that's an expectation and not just something that is an afterthought, I think has been great. So continuing that.
I love that you brought up greenwashing. I think that's a really interesting topic that I didn't think about, because I think as the world as a whole continuously moves and becomes more common knowledge that we have to start to make some changes to the way that we treat our environment, I think greenwashing and these buzzwords are constantly being used to kind of allure consumers. So I think that is important, maybe as academic institutions, to really start to understand as designers, to look past the tactics of greenwashing and really understand and really explore if that product that you're speccing or the furniture that you're using or the finishes actually are sustainable. So a deeper dive and a deeper search into that. I think that that was a really interesting thing to bring up, the idea of greenwashing, and something that I actually fell a victim to this summer when I was doing my research. I kind of got allured by greenwashing and figured out that it was kind of all a facade, and there was actually a lot of unfortunate stuff going on behind the scenes.
I would also say, and this is less related to courses, but as far as like the different schools coming together, like I really love this this forum for us, and I'm really excited to like talk about sustainability with other interior designers, not only from NYSID, but you know, Virginia Tech and Pratt and such like that, getting ideas from each other and working together for a brighter industry, I think is very important, and I would love to see that more in the future. So we should try to connect.
So just, can I follow up on that? Because one of the questions, and this has come up over the course of the symposium over the last day and a half, is about interdisciplinary collaboration. And for some of you who come from, you know, NYSID is a single focus school, which means that we focus on interior design, which is great. But some of you also come from different types, either large universities like Auburn and LSU and other places, or with you know, schools that have other art disciplines in them. So what about this cross-pollination between disciplines and even departments? Do you see that happening? Is that something you'd like to see in your home institution?
So at Virginia Tech, we have architecture, we have interior design, landscape architecture, industrial design, and we all kind of sit in, you know, the same areas. And so, you know, behind me, I have architect students who are getting their masters. I have freshman students, and I get to see them, you know, starting out their studio experience. And I get to see, you know, third year landscape students. And so it's really great so that even if we're not collaborating specifically on a project together, I can be in that space with them and learning about what they're working on, and ask them questions, and they can talk to us. And I think it's really great. It's really great to be even just near them. I think there's a lot of like, the only term I can think of is cross-pollination to describe that experience.
And I think this is a truly valuable experience, because I don't think the interdisciplinary collaboration just needs to happen within the school, but this is a really valuable experience to meet students from other universities, not just in New York, but around the country. So I think more of this integrated into educational institutions would be extremely beneficial and should be encouraged more in the future. And I'm so happy that this is happening.
Actually, someone mentioned earlier about their technology class incorporating sustainability. Was that you, Catherine?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about what was in that class and about the connection of learning the software through the sustainable focus and those different aspects? Can you talk a little bit more about that, Catherine?
Yeah, of course. So we would start off the semester by learning about sustainable materials, and we would each select a different material and then give presentations on ways those could be more sustainable. So taking things like paint and finding better sources for that. And same thing with wood, and finding companies that create sustainable products. And then we would move into kind of Revit and those softwares, and we would learn about daylight and thermal comfort, and we would build a model in New York City and kind of change the lighting and then calculate kind of what would create the best thermal comfort. So if you have north-facing windows, the sunlight's going to heat up the place, things like that. So we would look a lot at those kind of models and cater that towards LEED and the WELL building standards. So looking at how our buildings would fall in those ranges. So that's something that we looked at. And yeah, I hope that answered the question a little bit.
Yeah, did you guys use?
So sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, Marley.
Well, I was gonna say this, I think that that's a really awesome idea, and I almost wish that Auburn did that, because it sounds like it's a little bit more slower into sustainability and like taking it step by step, like already starting off digging deeper. Whereas I feel like Auburn, we have kind of done the overview, and then as we get deeper into studios, we start going a little bit deeper.
What's your passion for sustainability? What would you like to learn more about?
So something I'm passionate about with interior design is preservation and restoration of buildings. I think there's something very interesting in taking an existing building or part of an existing building and repurposing that and reusing that to kind of, I don't know, stick with the old, but also create new. And it prevents people from ripping something down completely. And I feel like that's almost a more sustainable method. And I kind of want to learn more about that within studies, but that's something I'm really passionate about. Yeah.
I could follow up on that. Something I've already touched on multiple times, something that I'm passionate about moving forward is sustainability as it relates to travel and tourism. I think that many people enjoy travel and taking vacations, and it's really important to understand our impact, not just on the environment, but on the local communities that we're intervening with when we do travel. So that's something that I'm looking forward to, I guess, addressing that in my thesis, but my career as I move forward, and maybe get into some sort of travel design as it relates to resorts, hospitality, as well as maybe travel interiors like airports and stuff like that. Yeah.
I am also so sorry, Sabrina. I am also very passionate about hospitality and sustainability in hospitality, because that is a huge impact. That's one way overall that can make a large impact in just small decisions that we can make as hospitality designers. But one of the questions was like interdisciplinary collaboration. I forced myself to do that. It was all part of the plan to graduate with a hospitality management degree and then go do interior design, because I want to design for hotels, restaurants, and bars.
Yeah, I wanted to add that I had mentioned earlier, but I'm really interested in materiality, and even like more specifically, like our relationship with materials and just like the human aspect, which definitely I realize like probably stems from my minor in psychology.
I have to agree with you, Sabrina. I'm also like really interested in material health, and so that is something I would really love to learn more about. Something else I would love to learn more about is just different career opportunities and how, maybe these interests of ours, we could dive deeper than becoming just designers. Maybe we, study the materials of, like what is in that carpet and so on.
I would say I definitely agree with all the students, specifically about restoration and healthy materials. But I'm also interested in studying the history of design, as well as vernacular architecture. I think vernacular architecture has a lot to do with thermal comfort and daylighting. They use certain systems in their architecture that have been used for years, and it's local, that are actually pretty energy efficient, and use these concepts that we're learning about now that we kind of have to employ in these modern buildings. But if you take a look back at history and look at communities that are building these things, we actually can learn a lot about interior design and architecture from them. So that's something I'm very interested in as well.
Something that I am super passionate about is designing for the other 90%. The first class I ever took in college in this big lecture hall here at the U was called Intro to Design Thinking. And the very first lecture was all about the other 90%. And ironically, my parents are from the other 90%, which is a community of people who are in marginalized countries all around the world, struggling for survival. And so really thinking about those communities, in design, we design for people. It's all about the human experience, and everyone is so deserving of an equal life and an equal shot at life. And so I think really listening to their stories and understanding and executing a design that fits the needs of all people for their social and environmental well-being is something I'm super passionate about.
I think that's beautiful, Vanessa. I really relate to that as well. I love designing for everyone, and we design for the well-being of everyone, and that really inclusive design has just become so relevant nowadays. But one thing that inspires me, that's been inspiring me and that has piqued my interest, is actually climate change with interior design. I want to learn more about it because I feel like that is becoming a big issue today, and it's not really talked about as much. And just learning how to incorporate that into interior design, and like, where do we go from there with climate change and what's next and that sort of thing, is very inspiring to me. It's intriguing and I want to learn more about it. So
you guys are so inspiring. You guys, I feel like you're getting a standing ovation from everyone that's tuning in. So I don't even know where else to go from there. I'm buzzing. I'm excited. I've got lots of ideas for my class. Poor Marley. Thank you guys for inspiring us in the profession to do better, be stronger, give more to you guys. Thank you for your passion about sustainability. If you guys are leading the helm for our future, I think we'll be okay. So thank you so much